Thanks for joining. It's Friday, November 21st, 2025, and I'm connecting with you today around gratitude and wanting to share some very candid personal reflections around gratitude and some deeper layers, perhaps, than what is normally talked about. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to do so, given that we are less than a week away from Thanksgiving. I think it's pretty common for this emotion of gratitude to come up. And before I really openly share my thoughts and feelings around some of these deeper layers involving gratitude, I wanted to take this opportunity as well to acknowledge the lack of voice that we've given our Native people in general, not just this time of the year, in general, and how people in positions of power have really held the pen and the microphone. It shouldn't be my voice to share these stories. They're not my stories to share by any means. But I do want to acknowledge the lack of voice, the lack of truth that we have collectively given our Native people. So I would encourage you to intentionally seek out texts, people, individuals, groups of Native voices, whether they're micro stories or whether it's fleshing out history, navigating some of our own biases based on the information that we've been led to believe to be true. So again, I would strongly encourage you to find that in your hearts, to connect with stories that are coming from authors other than people in positions of power. Thanksgiving can mean so much for so many different people as we're acknowledging the lack of voice that our Native people have had in terms of our history. It brings me to acknowledge how this time of the year is not always joyous for everybody. There can be a lot of grief involved. And whether it's collective grief from a community of people, or you as an individual are dealing with certain challenges, to acknowledge that. When I think about gratitude, I like to acknowledge that it's an emotion, and like other emotions, it exists on a spectrum. And much like other emotions, we don't tend to feel our best when we fall either in one end of the extreme of that spectrum or the other. And gratitude, I don't view any differently. So on this end of the spectrum, to be in a place where it is extremely challenging to connect with this feeling of gratitude, it's a hard spot to be in. And sometimes we've all danced closely to that end of the spectrum, or maybe even found ourselves in that end of the spectrum. Maybe that's where you are now, and that's your current reality. So nobody gets to decide where you should be in the spectrum at any point in your life. And on the flip side, to find ourselves on the other end of this spectrum, to minimize people's pain, to minimize people's experiences, to minimize their difficulties, their adversities, or to minimize your own pain, difficulties, that doesn't feel good either, right? To force this message upon yourself or others that you should be grateful that you have XYZ, or you should be grateful that maybe playing a comparison game, right? Like, oh, well, this person has this circumstances and you're not in that place. That's not helpful at all. Our own emotional experience is so uniquely individual and personal. And so in reflecting on gratitude, I think for most people, right, what first comes to top of mind is kind of the superficial checklist of, well, I'm grateful for fill in the blank, right? It might be, I'm grateful for I have a house to live in. I'm grateful that I have relatively good health. The people that love me, I'm grateful that I have a job, right? I mean, you could find these tangible things to be grateful for, and there is value in them. I don't want to take away the value in acknowledging these tangible things. If we're going to go a little bit deeper with gratitude, I would take this a step further. And my feelings around this are, yes, do the superficial checklist. And I say superficial not to say that it doesn't have meaning to you, right? But it's kind of that first layer, okay? Like our skin, right? Like that first layer is super important, but there's more beneath it. What's going on beneath that first layer? And so again, with gratitude, there are these layers to it, and we often don't go beyond that first layer. I view this next layer as finding gratitude in our process with challenges, in our process with grief, difficulty, pain, injustices, just in general, life's overall challenging moments, chapters, realities. And I don't think it's anybody's job to be a magician and come in and try to fix it or make it go away. It's also not our job to tell somebody they should be running away from the challenge or the difficulty or the pain. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have certain circumstances where we definitely can take action and change those circumstances and overcome the challenge, which absolutely take action and overcome the challenge if that's your circumstance. But even when we can take action, we're going to have an emotional experience about that challenge, even if we've overcome it, right? And that next layer of gratitude is, how are we relating to these challenges? Have we grown? Maybe you had a difficult relational experience last year and you don't love the way that you handled it. And maybe something popped up last month that was eerily similar. And maybe there was a small change in how you handled that challenge. Maybe you didn't handle it in the way that you would have liked to, but you shifted. And acknowledging that you've had challenges in the past and you will continue to have challenges. Nobody, including myself, gets to tell you to be grateful for the challenge and the opportunity to grow and all of that. You get to decide that. And so in my reflection on this deeper layer of gratitude, I've personally been connecting with reflecting on my own challenges that have presented themselves throughout my life. And when I find myself being hard on myself about maybe how I've handled those challenges or certain patterns that I found myself stuck in, I really recently have been making this intentional effort to up the self-compassion, the patience, and the courage to find where I can be grateful for my own growth in these challenges and how I've been handling them, and my relationship with the challenge. So assessing for myself, when a challenge presents itself in my life, am I engaging with it differently than maybe I did a month ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And in sharing this reflection with you, I'm inviting you to do the same for yourself. To find this compassion, this patience, and the courage to reflect on your own challenges, your own adversities, and to find areas where you have grown. Or if that feels challenging, maybe you can acknowledge somebody else's growth. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. Any emotional experience, not just gratitude, but any emotional experience, you are the author, you are the holder of your story and of your pain, your challenges, your growth, your celebrations. Your emotional experience is yours. Nobody gets to insert themselves. They don't know where you are in that spectrum. They don't know where you are in your process. You can invite people in, but they don't get to insert themselves without invitation. And what I mean by that is there can be this tendency, especially this time of the year, to really forcefully impose gratitude on other people. And maybe the kind thing to do is just pause and listen and have compassion, patience, and have the courage to sit alongside somebody else's authentic experience. Not come in and try to fix it, not come in and try to grab their hand to run away from it, but just be with them in it. Their reality. You don't get to decide what their reality is. And maybe that's for yourself, right? Maybe that challenge is for yourself to not come down so hard on yourself and try to force gratitude on yourself and minimize your own experience. Maybe that challenge is connecting with your reality. And so acknowledging that this time of the year, it can be joyous and it can be magical and it can be lovely for people. And it can also be difficult and painful and challenging and full of grief and messiness. And wherever you find yourself, I would like to extend as much love and compassion and patience and courage to you and those around you. Take good care of yourself and know that you're worth it.